Welcome Sagittarius. This is your tarot reading for the whole of 2022, coming from the mountains of Java. As you will see, the opening screen is a picture of the Kraton in Jogja, or the Sultan's Palace in Yogyakarta, the holiest place to Kajawan believers like myself. And I put it there in the hope that it brings us luck for 2022. So Sagittarius, if you're new to the channel, a massive welcome. If you're returning, thank you. And if you're a subscriber, massive thank you. But whatever, I just really hope that you enjoy this reading, Sagittarius. As a part of my channel, The Magic of Java, I've decided to add a section, Tarot from Java. So welcome to your tarot readings from the mountains in Java. You may well be asking, why from Java? What's important about tarot from Java? And the truth is, there is nothing so important about tarot from Java. Simply that here in Java, we have many different spirits who will come to help in your tarot reading. It'll probably put a different reflection on things. For example, the spirits here are less likely to be concerned about love and finances, despite people in Java being every bit as interested in these things as the rest of us. But maybe the spirits are trying to tell us something else. Now I'll be using probably 2 decks, but out of 3 decks. So the first deck is Tarot Nusantara, the second deck is the Steampunk deck, and the third deck is the Light Visions Tarot. Tarot Nusantara is actually a new one to me, which I love, whereas the Light Visions I've struggled with as a result of the rendering. Although I think I'll grow into it, I will keep using it and coming back to it. You can see on all of them I'm using quite a lot of salt, and that's to clear the energy and the spirits from them, something that I do fairly regularly with my tarot. And I also, you'll see a number of Jimat there that I use just to bring a good energy to the tarot and to my reading. Perhaps the most important mystical object we use in Java is the kris, the curly knife that you can see that I've placed across both decks. Kris are very important for bringing the spirits to work on any object here in Java. And I call on the spirits of the mountain to assist me in shuffling the cards, in selecting the right cards and interpreting them for Sagittarius for 2022. Sagittarius, we've been getting some interesting readings. I think it's because this is a reading for the entire year. Yours is interesting, but I have to say, on quickly first looking at it, doesn't look as though 2022 is going to be a great year for you. The overall energy running through it is the 7 of Swords, which is the card of deception. In recent past, we have the 2 of Cups, which is love, probably divine love. Your current energy is the 6 of Cups. Certainly something from the past. Could be your childhood, maybe even childhood romance. Future energy is the 6 of Wands. It is about you scoring victories, scoring victories and public recognition. The energy impacting on the outcome is you struggling with multiple priorities. Now, what could prevent the outcome or change the outcome is the 10 of Swords, which, the whole thing's about you being stabbed in the back, but this is a major stabbing in the back. Almost your whole world comes to an end. And the ending isn't much better because it sees you depressed. It sees you with a glass half full mentality. Now, although this all sounds rather depressing, I have to say it doesn't feel like a great year, let's be honest. But it feels like the sort of thing that you overcome. It doesn't feel like these have lasting impacts. But let us see. Let us look at each card individually for you, Sagittarius. Now, running through this entire reading is the Seven of Swords. It is about betrayal, deception, trickery, getting away with something. Now, if it's you that's doing it, a posh way of saying that is acting strategically. But I have to say, looking at the flow of the other cards, no, I think it's somebody is trying to betray or deceive you. Now, what I have to say to you, well, let's look at the card because that explains it quite well. If you look at him, he's only got away with 5 of the 7 swords. He's also looking back. He knows he's done wrong. So there is just a chance that he won't get away with it. He'll have second thoughts. There's a chance that this deception won't come off. There's also a chance that this deception is nothing like as bad as it sounds. So it's a warning from the universe of deception that I need to carry through the entire reading. But I can see from the other cards in the reading that it doesn't necessarily affect you that badly, apart from how you feel about the deception. So that there is a juncture in this reading whereby it could affect you physically very badly. But most likely that won't occur. But what will happen is a degree of dismay and despondency on your behalf. And I need to understand all the other cards in the light of this. In your recent past, I've just realised something. I'm going to save what I've realised. But in your recent past, we have divine love. We have two of cups, which this is a sort of love where you completely fit together. And you look at the card and they're not wearing matching clothes, but complementary clothes. Now in Indonesia, it's very common for people who are going out, even man and wife, to wear matching clothes. Something that I find rather laughable. But you know, when we're in Jakarta and me and my wife are going out for the night, we don't check with each other what we're wearing. We don't even see what each other's wearing. But as we go to the door and we look at each other, we compliment each other. We always compliment each other. And it's that sort of a feeling. It's absolutely divine. You just fit together. Fit together. Now that was in the past. Now you're currently thinking of that past. You're currently thinking, I believe, about that past love. Might have been a childhood love. It might not have been, but you're definitely, it's definitely on your mind. Whether or not you resurrect that love, well, I think we'll work that out. Will we? I think you do, or at least you resurrect contact. I think you do go back to that past. You look at the card, I mean, it's an idealised childhood, isn't it? There are the 6 cups with flowers in them, everyone in their best clothing, the father on guard, so there's a sense of security. Everything about it is like an idealised childhood. One of my favourite, or certainly wasn't my favourite book as a teenager, Laurie Lee's Side with Rosie. And the way describes the slad of his childhood. That it was always the summer and there was always bumblebees buzzing. And it's that sort of a memory which is something of false memory, and I think that's what's betraying you. I think it is. Now, your future energy is you scoring something of a victory and getting public recognition for that. Now, what I have to say is this victory is a battle rather than a war. I've got one way of understanding it. But I don't know if I want to come out with that quite yet. I mean, it could be anything, but I'm trying to relate it to this past love. I'm also trying to relate it to this, I might as well tell you, I'm trying to relate it to this deception. And what it might be saying to me is that in all likelihood you discover the deception, you put a stop to it, and people recognise that you do. But it doesn't help, does it? Just because an old love has tried to deceive you and you caught them out, you don't feel any better, do you? That's what I think it is. Yeah. And the energy impacting on the outcome is Two of Pentacles, of course. Multiple priorities, juggling with multiple priorities. So you've got many things that you're working on, and you don't see this deception coming. You don't see the deception coming because you're so busy doing multiple things. Doesn't mean to say you're not coping, but you could do without somebody stabbing you in the back. You could do without, particularly a loved one, stabbing you in the back. You look at him, he's on the seashore, but it must be difficult walking along the beach, juggling. I don't know the significance of those two. Oh, I do, those two ships, you know. You're juggling between priorities, that's what it is, yeah. Juggling between priorities, and as a result, you don't spot this deception. Or you do, I think you do ultimately, but you don't nip it in the bud quickly enough. Now, Sagittarius, I've said I don't think this deception is that, well, it is traumatic. Is that physically bad? Apart from what it does to your attitudes, and even those I think will pass. But it does have the potential. It does have the potential to take everything away from you. So I think this is a former lover attempting to steal everything you have. Or maybe it's not stealing, but betrayal. Attempting to do something to you that would absolutely destroy you. You'd have to start off afresh. It would be unexpected. It would be incredibly painful, and there would be something about your life that you'd have to start over again. It has the potential to be that, because we have this Ten of Swords as a card preventing the outcome. And the Ten of Swords, well, look at it, 10 swords stabbed in his back. It's pretty final. I mean, I say it's final. I don't mean you die. I mean, you pick yourself up and you start afresh. But, whatever you've been doing comes to an end as a result of it. Now, that's only a potential outcome, and I don't think that's the most likely outcome. But clearly it's a warning within these cards that it is. What they're doing has the potential to destroy you. It really does. And the outcome, and this is why the outcome is the Five of Cups, and this is why I say, I think it's more on your feelings than you physically lose something. Although, as I've said, there's the potential for it to be dramatic. But I think you find it, you nip it in the bud. Or, sorry, you don't nip it in the bud, but you discover it and put a stop to it before it's anything too bad. But it's an old love that's betrayed you. It's somebody that you've been so close to, and they've betrayed you. And that does play on your mind. And as a result of it, you take a pessimistic view on the world. You can't any longer see the opportunities around you because you're focusing on this. You may be frightened of, if this was a business venture, getting into business again because you've burnt your fingers. You're probably frightened of ever loving again. And you look at the card, well, there's the 3 cups that she's focusing on. The 3 cups that have fallen over, and she's focusing on those. If only she turned round, there are 2 full cups behind her. Now, it's only a minor arcana. So this is something that will pass, particularly if you make an attempt to be happy. Make an attempt to bury the baggage. So I think it's all resolvable. As I said at the beginning, I don't think this is a terrible reading. It's a reading about life, you learning about life. But I can't pretend 2022 is going to be great for you. So let's get a little bit of clarity. Okay, well, I think if we can get the clarity on this 7 of Swords, what the deception is, then we'll know an awful lot more about the whole thing. First card of clarity we get is the 5 of Wands, which is the card of conflict. So it doesn't really come as a surprise. The next card we get is the Ace of Wands, which is suggesting that this is a new venture. This is something new that you wanted to happen. And the final card of clarity is the Knight of Wands, which is suggesting to me that you've rushed in to something new without giving it enough thought. You've exposed yourself here. Puts a slightly different spin on everything, on the deception, etc., doesn't it? Let's look at each of these individually. Now, the first card of clarity is the 5 of Wands. 5 of Wands is about conflict, but it's the sort of conflict whereby nobody wins. It's the sort of time when you're all pulling in different directions. All trying to achieve your own ends, but that's it, isn't it? And trying to achieve your own ends, but not working together as a team. So I'm thinking you had some vision. Maybe it was business. It doesn't have to be, though. And you included your former love in it. And they just saw it as an opportunity for themselves. They didn't share your vision. And you were pulling in different directions. Maybe there were other people pulling in these different directions, but certainly it wasn't a shared vision. And it's one of those situations where nobody's the winner. So even if you win, and remember going back, there is that win, isn't there? It's the 6 of Wands. So you did score something of a victory, but it just left a bad feeling in this ex-lover's throat. That's what it is. So you scored a victory over them, but actually it led to resentment, which led to this backstabbing. Yes, yeah. You look at the card where they're all pulling in different directions, which is what I've said. The next card of clarity is the Ace of Wands. So this was a new opportunity that you were exploring. I mean, it does all feel like business, but it doesn't have to be business. But new growth, new inspiration, new potential. Not necessarily something that you understood fully. So you may well have had a view of what was the right path, but it would seem that not everybody shared that. And it's probably because you didn't understand it well enough, what it was about. You're acting rather than planning or researching it. You're following your gut. And often that's not a bad thing. But what you've failed to do is create a collective vision of where you're going and why. Yeah, you haven't shared that vision because you haven't fully understood it yourself. You're following your intuition. No harm in following your intuition, but you can't articulate it to others. There's where the problem lies. And now we have the Knight of Wands. A brave knight, courageous knight. You can somewhat depend on him. But he rushes into things. So putting all this together, this is some new opportunity that you've got into by the seat of your pants. Because you're going by the seat of your pants and not thinking it through, you can't articulate your vision to others. That causes conflict. You do win the conflict, but maybe you do in a way that's not seen as fair and rational. This creates bad feeling, and the bad feeling leads to you being betrayed. And unfortunately, I'm pretty certain the person betraying you is somebody that you were very much in love with. Oh dear, Sagittarius. But I do think that we can summarise it now, Sagittarius. Sagittarius, 2022 is not going to be a happy year for you. I don't want to interpret this too miserably, although it's quite possible too. I actually believe that what's going to go on is pretty minor, and it's about lessons in life for you. But they will feel like hard lessons by the time you get to the end of 2022. But I absolutely believe that you will overcome them. It's just life. In your recent past, we have a divine love. A love that was so special to you. And I think you resurrect that love. Maybe not as a loving relationship, but as some sort of a partnership. Now, I would speak in terms, well, I do speak in terms of business because it's the easiest way of seeing it, but it's not necessarily business. But you involve them in something in your life. And that's something that you involve them in is something that's so new to you. This project is so new that you don't even fully understand it yourself. You've rushed into it by the seat of your pants. You're following your gut and you've not thought it through. Now, it doesn't matter. Following your intuition doesn't matter. But what you're unable to do is articulate the reasons why you're doing it to those around you, including this former love that you've included in it. And that results in conflict because of you're pulling in different directions. Everyone's pulling in different directions. And that's because of you yourself don't quite understand the direction. You haven't really mapped it out. You haven't really given it enough thought. Now, your gut reaction might be right, and there's no harm in your gut reaction being right. But if you're going to lead and get other people to follow you, you have to rationalise your gut reaction, and that's what you've not done. Now, what you do is there's this conflict going on, and you actually win the conflict. But it's one of those occasions, and everybody knows you've won the conflict, you've won the battle, not necessarily the war. But it's one of those conflicts where there's really no winners. Everyone just feels bad about it. And that results in your former lover betraying you. Now, the extent of their betrayal, I think, is dependent on you, because I think you see through it. Truth is, you've got so many things on because you don't know what you're doing. You don't see this betrayal until it's somewhat too late, but you see it before it does the real damage to you. Although it does have the potential to do the real damage to you. So there is a warning here to be on your guard. But no, I think the damage isn't a physical damage. It's a damage to your confidence, to your view of mankind. You feel betrayed. And you feel you can't see new opportunities because you feel so let down over this one. Sagittarius, you will get over it, and the sooner you get over it, the better. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed Tarot from Java as an addition to my channel, The Magic of Java. Please take a look at the other videos that I have on this channel about magic from Java, and I hope that you will become a subscriber. Now, if you want to hear your next tarot reading, hit the button, and that will inform you of when I publish new readings. I'm certainly going to do a reading for every month, but maybe I will try them a bit more frequently, say a mid-month reading, and maybe also some special readings. But above all, thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you, and enjoy Java.